Thank you. When you came in here tonight, you heard some music. It's a band called the Ruts, and that band may be obscure to at least, well, sounds like all of you. It's not that you're not sharp on music. It's just that the band came and went so quickly, like in the blink of an eye, you missed them. And they were a punk rock band from England, and they were playing and recording from 1977 until 1980, and they released records from like 1979 to 1980. So they had a little tiny window of creativity. And their first single came out without a picture sleeve, just a white plain sleeve. And I found it at a record store in Washington, D.C. in like 1850. And I was just a teenager, and I pulled it out of the punk rock import box at Yesterday and Today Records at 1327J, Rockville Pike in Rockville, Maryland. And so I pulled it out, and I look at the name of the band, The Ruts. I went, oh, I like that name. That's smart. And I look at the A-side, In a Rut by The Ruts. I was like, ooh, they know me, because I'm in a rut. And it's impossible to see this young Henry, this boy, who never missed a meal in his life, with blinding white Sears and Roebuck underwear on under his Levi's jeans saying, I'm in a rut. Were you ever tied upside down by an abusive boyfriend of a mother and beaten? Well, no. Were you ever tortured and starved like a dog? No. Then what are you in a rut about? Well, that's just part of being young. You say that you're in a rut. I'm in a rut. No one understands me. I'm a warrior in a turbulent time. These 17-year-old eyes have seen war, death, and destruction on my streets. Really? In your neighborhood next to the Washington National Cathedral? Shut up. No one understands this roiling heart that lives in the dark sea that is my soul. Women shun me because they don't understand the intense poet that lies therein. That's why I live alone in a small room in my mother's apartment with curtains drawn and goth music loud. It's where I will live for the rest of my life now that my best days are behind me. Your best days are behind you. Yes, they're behind me, and now death and I walk side by side. My only friend, my companion, death. Oh, his scythe rises high. So your best days when you were 9. Shut up, I've got my cool on. And so I bought this record figuring the Ruts understand me. And I listened to this single and I went, they do. This is the best single I've ever heard. They immediately became my favorite band at the time. There's a lot of favorite bands in those days. You'd see The Clash, then they were your favorite band. Then you see The Damned, and they were your favorite band. Then you go see The Bad Brains or Minor Threat, and then they were your favorite band. And so I saw all those bands, and they were my favorite band the night I saw them. And then I'd listen to something else. I like you, no, I like you, no, I like you. Then I just figured out I like all of it, and I'm going to be a record fanatic for the rest of my life. Anyway, so through 1979, I'm buying Ruts singles. I'm finding Ruts singles in record stores. Then the Ruts released their album in late 1979. It's called The Crack. It is bomb-proof. It is unassailably perfect. It is available right now on Virgin Records at nice prices. And you people have awful prices for CDs. $35 for a fucking CD. That's awful. Why is anyone going to buy any music at that kind of prices? When you see stuff like that, burn the record store down, steal the shit. That's what I think you should do. And if you see any of my CDs for that price and you can steal the shit offline or online, do it. I'd rather be heard than paid. Fuck it. And so anyway. And so I bought the record. I love the record. And to this day, I have every single pressing of the Ruts album that I could have ever been able to find. I have the New Zealand pressing, the Australian pressing, the German, the French, the Greek, the Japanese, the British, the Canadian, and the American. And if there's anyone in this building tonight that has a pressing that I don't have, fucking give it to me. I became like a major Ruts fan. In the beginning of 1980, the Ruts released a single that I thought was going to make them bigger than the Beatles. The A-side is called Staring at the Rude Boys. It is one of the most impossible brilliant songs I've ever heard. And so we just figured, that's it. They're going to be the biggest band in the world. And in Washington, D.C., the little scene that I come from, the Bad Brains, Minor Threat, all those bands, we all listened to the Ruts. They were a huge factor in D.C. music at that time. And so if you're interested in the early D.C. music scene, you can't really hear the Ruts music in that music, but believe me, we all had those records. And so in the summer, well, the summer for the rest of the world, you people have it all wrong. You drive on the wrong side of the road and your summer's my winter. So what the hell's with you? In July of 1980, the singer of the Ruts, Malcolm Owen, he died of a heroin overdose. He died in his mother's bathtub, and the band was basically over. And since I never got to see them or meet them, and they never made a bad record, immediately, for me, they become legendary because they could do no wrong because the singer's dead, and they are now sealed in history. And that's when I became Ruts obsessive. I had every Ruts button. I had Malcolm Owen's obituary. To this day, I have every Ruts promotional poster museum grade framed on my wall. I have every single and every pressing of the record in triple thick acid-free Mylar. I don't even play any of them anymore. I just have them. And it's Saturday night, alone in my utilitarian hovel, I take off all my clothes and I put them on my body and just go, oh, I have you. I possess you, and other people who want them don't have them. And the spine on the crack, the Greek pressing, has a typo in it. That's so delightful to me. It says C-R-A-K, leaving out the C. Oh, I want to start a chat room about that right now. Oh, I'm doing a thing. And so, you can tell that I'm a Ruts fan. And so a few months ago, I get a very interesting email from a guy named Mark, a man I don't know, from England. And he says, "Dear Henry, you don't know me. My name is Mark. I am a friend of the Ruts." I was like, a man who knows the Ruts? Because 3 Ruts remain alive. Paul Fox, the guitar player, Dave Ruffy, the drummer, and Seggs Jennings, the bass player. Malcolm is gone, but the 3 remain. I've never met them. I've never seen them, but this man knows them. I am now fully awake and staring at the screen intently. Henry, here's what's going on in Ruts world. The guitar player, Paul Fox, has inoperable lung cancer, and he is dying. He's not going to get better. He is leaving the building soon. And so the Ruts have reconvened after a couple of decades of inactivity, and they've decided they want to do one last show to remember the music and to make some money so Paul's family can have something after he dies, because he is dying. And as you know, Henry, Malcolm Owen, the great Malcolm Owen, passed away in July of 1980, so they're without a singer, and the band has come to their conclusion as to who should front the band on this amazing night. And buddy, it's you. What do you say? And so, oh, thanks. Now, I figured the reason I got the offer is because I'm a guy who has gray hair like they do, who says, "The Ruts!" like out of my mouth all the time. So every interview. So, Henry, how's the tour? "The Ruts!" "Who do you think will be the next president of the United States?" "The Ruts!" And so maybe they said, "Wow, that guy says the Ruts a lot." And so I said, well, I wrote him back immediately. I said, "Well, thank you for the letter. I'm very sorry about Paul, but I really need to ask the band some real tough questions before I say yes to this. Can you provide any contact information for anybody in the band?" And the guy immediately shot back, and he said, "Yeah, here's email addresses for the rhythm section, Seggs and Ruffy." The guitar player, Paul, does not have email. And so I wrote the rhythm section a letter, basically saying, "Hey, dear fellas, it's Henry. I'm very sorry as to why we're communicating. I'm very sorry about your worthy constituent, Paul. But nonetheless, I got some questions to ask you guys. First off, do you understand what a good band you were? Do you understand that your records are peerless? Do you understand that people all over the world to this day are still listening to your music? That where I come from in Washington, D.C., if you say the Ruts, half of my neighborhood runs to the front porch and stands at attention, such as the respect that your music commands to this day. Do you understand that anyone buying a ticket for this auspicious event will have very high hopes and expectations, and if you let them down, you break their heart and you waste their time. And if you do this, you should be taken outside, beaten and chopped into pieces, and what is not eaten by dogs should be eBayed, okay?" And you cannot fake out an audience. A, you can never fool an audience, and B, if you do not fear failure from an audience, from yourselves, I am not the guy for the job. If you're 99% into this, you're going to go on stage and make some mistakes and think that's okay or that's funny. I'm definitely not the singer for this band. But if you're 110% into this show and in mortal quaking fear of letting down an audience, then I am definitely the boy for you. Because since I aged 20, I've been living with a sword of Damocles over my head, suspended by the single horsehair, just like in the story, in fearing failing an audience. I love all of you madly. You know that. My goodness, that's a lot of people up there. Hello. But I fear failing you. I fear letting you down. It's not the money part of it. It's your time. I fear that you're giving me your Friday night and I take it and throw it away. That's why I never dial in a show. That's why I never show up not wanting to do it more than I want to breathe. And audiences can tell. You can have a band on the stage right now with like 30 people in the band, and you're like, the tambourine player's not into it. You can tell. It's like, even if he's like, You're like, no, you're faking it. You cannot fake out an audience. So either you have your phaser set on kill or motherfucker, don't